Hello, I'm Brenda Santiago, and I'd like to spend a couple of minutes explaining Agile strategy and strategic doing. Why do we need a new discipline of strategy? Old approaches were designed for hierarchies and don't really work well in today's networks or places where people can't tell anybody else what to do. Also, we need ways to bring people together in new collaboration platforms to address complex, shared, and even wicked problems. This is why strategic doing is particularly relevant as a strategy discipline for open, loosely connected networks. It was designed to meet the challenges of this complex world, where old systems are breaking down, the future is coming at us faster than before, boundaries are blurring, and people are forming collaborative networks because no individual, organization, or place can build a sustainable future alone. It all seems so complex. And the challenge, of course, is how do we deal with this complexity? Strategic doing follows simple rules and focused conversations. We use simple rules to move from confused complexity to profound simplicity. People move in the direction of their conversations, so guiding focused conversations and concentrating on critical strategic issues is fundamental. For example, we see simple rules and focused conversations at work in medical triage, a process invented by the French, which comes from the word trier, meaning to sort or select. In World War II, the process was mandated by the US Surgeon General, and it resulted in a major decline in deaths. Those caring for the injured on the battlefield prioritized the wounded into categories: green for those who did not need immediate care, black for those unlikely to survive and where palliative care was the only option. The remaining cases received priority: red for the severely injured and yellow for the others. This model, using simple rules and focused conversations among the medical staff, is still evident in some emergency medical service systems today. Strategic doing is not strategic planning. Strategic planning developed in the late 1950s and early 60s as a way to manage big top-down hierarchical organizations, and it's a very linear process. We're all fairly familiar with strategic planning, where there's a lot of analysis, more analysis, then there's an action plan, and hopefully something gets done. There are many plans collecting dust on shelves and occupying valuable space on our devices and clouds. This is not it. With strategic doing, we face the reality of a world without major hierarchies. There is a potential for a lot of conflict, and so we use a process to align and realign people towards shared outcomes and to identify, link, and leverage opportunities that we might follow. There are two core questions in strategy: where are we going, and how will we get there? The first question is about the outcome. The second, the pathways to the outcome. Strategic doing divides these into 4 questions. Where are we going is addressed by answering, what could we do, and what should we do? And how will we get there is addressed by answering, what will we do, and what is our 30-30? Let's explore these further. What could we do invites us to take a look at our assets and figure out how we can link and leverage these assets towards shared outcomes. It gives us a chance to explore different opportunities by adding new assets to our network and consider what we could do together to advance our own agendas. The second question requires us to make a choice. We can come up with a lot of ideas in what we could do, but we have to figure out a very limited number of what we should do. The next step in strategic doing is to convert one of these opportunities into an outcome with shared measurable metrics of success. The reason metrics are important is because we have to understand where we're going together. It ensures we're all talking about the same thing. The third question, now we're moving into the pathways, what will we do, invites us to focus on our network and think about how we can all take steps together, relatively small steps, to move towards the outcome. It's not just the people sitting around the table. We're talking about the fact that each individual comes in with a network of 30, 40, 50, sometimes 100 people that they could call up and say, hey, I've got a great idea. I'd like your help. For example, think of 5 people, each with an average of 50 people in their network. You're really talking about a network of 250. Think about what we could achieve by managing that network and guiding it forward. But how do we do this? Strategic doing focuses on pathway projects. These are projects that start moving us toward our outcome with some clear milestones. We divide up the workload like a phone tree, make adjustments if things aren't working right, and we take small steps together. When we do that in alignment, we end up taking a large step. The final how do we get there question, what's our 30-30, allows us to create a learning cycle where we co-create a plan of action, let's say 30 days, come back together again, reflect on what we've learned, revise, adjust the plan, and come up with the next 30-day action plan. By dividing our collaboration into definable time buckets, 30, 60, 180 days, we continuously make adjustments and continuously refocus our outcomes and our next steps. So what does strategic doing look like in practice? In action, it looks more like this. It's a process where we're thinking and doing continuously, and we're coming together regularly. But in between those regular gatherings, individuals in the network are off doing their 30-day task. These are normally defined as 1 to 3 hour tasks, but certainly it's not very much time because everybody's really focused on their own day job. How do we organize it all? With a managed network that looks something like this. At the center, there's a core entity that resources this process. It might be a nonprofit, university, or government entity. A core team guides, convenes, and manages the process. There's a handful of strategic focus areas, normally not more than 7 focus areas, and then below those are individual initiatives or pathfinder projects, those that we're going to use to get to our shared outcomes. Managing the network becomes simple if everybody understands the basic process at work, since the transparency in sharing ideas and sharing of resources takes hold throughout the network. Are you ready to start? Let's do this.